I love it.
Hell yeah! Welcome back, everybody. My name's Mike, and we are going to be talking about this e-bike that you see right here in front of you now. For longtime viewers of my channel, you probably tuned in today and didn't expect to see this, but there is a reason why we're talking about this today, and sort of a philosophy of use, to quote the great Nut and Fancy, which we will definitely talk about. And I think it fits into what a lot of people who watch my channel would like, their systems, if you will. And a lot of folks probably never considered it. The first time I rode e-bikes was probably 4 or 5 years ago, and it was with Talon Sai. You guys may have seen the video that we did on his channel. Then a company that was relatively local to me reached out to me and got me some e-motorcycles that I was riding for years since then. And then we got this bike in. I got this in probably a year ago, maybe a little bit less than that. And we've been riding it a good bit. Myself, I actually gave it out, one of them, to a family member, and they added some accessories that we'll talk about here in just a second in their use, and they've been riding it. And we have 2 of these in now, and both of them have right around 80 miles on them, so not a ton for sure, but enough that I think we kind of have flushed out the pros, the cons, all of those sorts of things. So we're going to get into the actual details of the bike itself, and then, like I talked about at the end, we'll talk about sort of like why you would want one of these. But what is it? This is the Aventon Adventure. This is actually the original Adventure. There is, as of right now, a couple months ago, they released the 2.0 version of it that has a couple differences that we'll talk about as well. The biggest one is the Adventure here. The original one doesn't have a torque sensor, and we'll talk about how that sort of works here as well, because I know a lot of folks are new to e-bikes, and this one doesn't have that. The Adventure 2 has that, which also increases the battery a little bit as well. So with that, I'm going to sort of walk through this one piece by piece. Additionally, I should mention that Aventon makes a ton of different e-bikes. This is their largest one they make. It's also their heaviest. It's also their probably most off-road capable. This one here comes in a number of different frame sizes. It comes in small, medium, large. This is the large. It's for folks that are 5'11" and taller, which I am, and that will come into play when we talk about other folks using it here in just a second. But with that, let's get into sort of the details of it, show you what the bike comes with, sort of some of the details of it, and then we'll talk about the philosophy as well as how the bike has performed. As we mentioned in the intro, this is the largest version that they do make, and the reason for that is it's geared for off-roading, right? So obviously it's perfectly capable on the road, as you guys will probably see from the B-roll that we've been rolling in, and we'll continue to do throughout the video, but it's definitely designed to perform optimally off-road. So we have these 26-inch tires. They are 4 inches wide, once again, for off-road performance, and they are puncture resistant. That's part of the design. They're not like run flats like you could think of, but reading a ton of reviews on these online, everyone has said that they've done really well in terms of that. And again, obviously ours are still inflated, so we haven't had any puncture issues with them. And these have been over a lot of rough terrain in the low country, primarily in South Carolina. And there's sticks, nails, all types of stuff out there in the low country, if you guys have ever been down there, because of all the bridges that have been built over the years here. And it's been perfectly fine. We have the shocks here up front, and then of course we do have the guard here as well, so that way you don't have dirt blowing back in your face. That said, I've actually ridden this particular bike on the beach a lot. And one thing I'll tell you is when the sand is really fine, you definitely will still get some sand up in your face. Just kind of know that going forward. But when you get back on a little bit like smoother sand, sand that's got a little bit of water content to it, you don't get any of that. And of course, those shocks really do a very good job at soaking up some of the trail bumps that you get along the way, for sure. Again, we're going to assume that you guys don't know how e-bikes work and kind of walk you through this. The battery is here on the left side of the actual frame itself. To start it, all you do is press it once, and then at this point, there's a power button here. I'm just going to press that, and the bike comes alive with a color screen here. So a lot of the competitive offerings out there in the market don't have this color screen. So as you move along, it'll give you a lot of key metrics. And what you see here is this assist button, and that is correlated to this assist button right here. This is the plus and the minus, and the actual amount or distance that you'll get out of each charge is going to vary depending on how you set your pedal assist. So pedal assist basically is 1 through 5, and the more you have it assist you, as the name would indicate, the more it assists you, right? So this bike will ship out as what's called a Class 2 bike as it ships to you. There's different state laws that govern, you know, bikes like this. That said, I would completely ignore all of those. They're irrelevant and unconstitutional. But as soon as you hit up and turn the assist on, at this point you have a throttle right here with your thumb. So if I actually push it, you'll see the bike will go forward. I'm stopping it here because we're, you know, obviously on camera, but that is how you accelerate. There's a slight delay to it, but it's pretty responsive. It's actually kind of shocking for a lot of folks, but up front here we do have a headlight. This one is one that one of my family members mounted on there as well. But you can use either one. The head, I don't know why you would want to mount one on there. Honestly, I should have asked them before I started recording this video. But the headlight works perfectly fine. You can set the angle of adjustment. And if you look here at the actual shift levers, it's pretty normal. So it's pretty much what you would see with a standard bike. So you have a lot of different ways to use it, because a lot of folks who use this are, in my opinion, are gonna be kind of in three categories. Folks who either just only use the throttle, which I'm not gonna lie, that's probably me. I did, of course, use the pedal assist just to test it out and see how everything works. Folks who primarily use it as a standardized bike and don't really use the e-bike aspect of it at all. And then folks who wanna take this off-roading through trails and things like that. If that is you, that really is where this thing shines with the pedal assist, because if you really want to power up hills, that added boost that you get and the capability you get with this thing is insane over a standardized bike. So you can go up hills. If you're using your pedal assist, you can go up hills 20 miles an hour, no problem on this bike. If you're just using the throttle, obviously it's going to depend on the grade, how much you weigh, all of those things, but you can get, you know, 13, 14 miles an hour consistently on most hills, which is crazy when you think this thing weighs over 70 pounds. I weigh 195 pounds. And it's a lot of power on board for sure. And the average range of it, again, it depends on your pedal assist. I think we rolled that in, but, you know, quoted from the factory on one charge is 45 miles. So very, very cool in that regard. And then, of course, that is our headlight button there. That is the controls. And then we have the power button, plus and minus for pedal assist. And then, of course, your brakes like you would have on a standard bike. This mirror that you guys, I don't know if you guys can see it, but that mirror did not come with it. That was another aftermarket accessory that was added on. But that is the controls here up front. Of course, your shift lever there as well. We turned the bike around so you guys could look at that. We do have hydraulic brakes, which again, a lot of competitive offerings in the space do not have. This bike brakes fast. So I do dig that.
It's good, brakes work. brakes work.
Here is your battery. It's built right into the frame, at least as it looks anyway. Reality is, of course, you turn this key, that will pop your battery out. You can actually buy replacement batteries for this as well. So if you wanted to extend the range, like I said, 45 miles, depending on how you're using it for range. But if you wanted to throw like a extra battery in your backpack, obviously you just doubled your range, right? So that is cool. That is your charging port. Charging on this is going to depend. So if you're charging it off a standard like 120, depending on where your battery is, in my experience, about 5 to 8 hours is what you need for a charge to charge it all the way up. And of course, that is your battery indicator there as well. But you know, if you're going to power it down, you're just going to press and hold until it goes down. You probably don't want to do this while it's leaning up, but for video purposes, that's how we did it. So powering it down, obviously we have our kickstand there in the back. Seat is adjustable. The seat's actually a pretty good seat. Obviously I've been riding bikes since I was 3 years old, like most of you, and it's kind of a hybrid. So it's a little bit wider than like a lot of road bikes would be. So it's good for comfort, particularly if you're off-roading, right? I think that's probably why they went with that profile, but it's not as slim as some of like you guys who are out there who are like, you know, long distance bicyclists. You'll probably think it's too big. Most of you will probably think it's comfortable because you're normal people. But that is the kickstand. Obviously you can see the reflectors on there as well. And then what's interesting about this one here, if I actually turned it on, would be that we have a brake light there. Now the Adventure 2s actually have brake lights on both sides. So this one's only on the left side of the bike. But on the Adventure 2, it has brake lights on both, and then additionally, it has blinker function, which this one doesn't have. So that is kind of a cool feature as well. We switched out to the FDE one because FDE obviously is cool, and I wanted to show you the ridiculous basket to bring up a point. This basket was just strapped on there by a family member who's been using this for a few months, and basically, the reason I wanted to bring that up, for example, is one cool thing about these Aventon bikes is that most of your standard bike accessories will work with them. A lot of e-bikes, that is not the case. A lot of e-bikes, you have to get specialized parts for anything. So just as an example, if you wanted to put a water bottle down there, the bolts that come on the frame are standard water bottle frames. So if you wanted to use a bike rack, assuming they're strong enough to handle the weight, a standard bike rack will work with this. Aventon does make baskets that go up front. The one they make from the factory, I think it's rated to hold up to 20 pounds. And then the rear rack they make, which is also very useful for this type of bike, holds up to 40 pounds. So in terms of adding gear, it's very helpful. If you guys want to go that route, like we already talked about, you can get spare batteries as well, which I think is a very cool thing. Additionally, we have a little bit of a guard down here to protect your chain. So if you're off-roading, it does give you some protection. Now, in terms of philosophy of use and how people thought of it. So how people thought of it first, like I said, I've had, I don't know, at least 10 people ride these bikes, including myself, obviously. And fortunately or unfortunately, fortunately for me and other people who are 6 feet tall or taller, this bike's super, super comfortable to ride, to get on, to handle. And if you are a relatively healthy adult male, very easy to handle out there on the road, on the trails, etc. That said, a lot of the people that have been riding this have been my wife, other female family members who are small. And like I said, this is the biggest bike they make, so it's like the worst model for them. Because it's higher, obviously. Like I said, even in this version, they make small, medium, and large frame. This is the large frame. So for them, a lot of them have given me feedback that they think it's just too big. I agree. I think unless you want to off-road and unless you are our height, this is a big old bike to be lugging around. Obviously, like I said, they make a ton of different models, and even this model and a small frame would be something that I think, like my wife, for example, she's under 5'6", so for her, that would be a little bit more easy to start and stop, things like that. But everyone, literally everyone loves these things that has ridden them. They are smile machines. Oh, 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 oh. Yoo-hoo! And I don't think that's particular to this bike. It's not particular to this bike, but I think it's just e-bikes are fun. Like I said, I've been riding them for years now, including motorcycles and electric motorcycles, and they are fun. So it is a lot of power, and the thing that's crazy about this, like we talked about class 2, class 3, that's a video for another day in terms of e-bikes, but from the factory, these will come with no pedal assist, just using the throttle. You'll be able to go up to 20 miles an hour consistently with them. That's obviously no hills. We talked about hills, but on the open road, it'll go 20 miles an hour all day. And if you get the app on your phone, which interface is here, then you can unlock it, make it a class 3 bike, and it'll go up 28 miles an hour with pedal assist. Now that's pretty darn fast when you're talking about a bicycle. So it definitely has a lot of capabilities to it. Why would you want this? Well, I have a friend who has one of these. It's actually Sean. You guys know him, Sean from We Like Shooting. Sean has one of these, and he actually, because again, it's compatible with bicycle accessories, what he did with his, what I think is a brilliant idea, and I think a lot of you will be interested as well, is he added a wagon to it in the back, and he uses it for hunting. So if you think about his scenario, he's out in Colorado, so you go into the woods, you know, you take down a deer, whatever the case may be. Well, that's, you know, 80, well, it depends what animal you're shooting and all that, but 80 to 200 pounds of additional meat that you got to haul out of there. Well, if you have an off-road e-bike, that makes it a whole lot easier with a wagon that you can load up with meat and supplies, camping supplies, anything like that. Ammo, your rifle, all those things can be added on, once again, because it takes standard bike accessories. So that's one way to do it. Another thing to think about is that these things are virtually silent. Now, this particular one, because it has the off-road tires on it, is louder than most. Like I said, have used lots of e-bikes. The actual motor, if you will, which is back here at the rear, if you didn't know that, it's a hub motor back here at your rear tire, is silent. It's literally silent. So if you are thinking about, you know, as our nation continues to decline, which it absolutely is and has been for a while, something like this, having a silent capability to move around without needing gas, is something that could come in handy in a ton of scenarios. Additionally, not having to worry about gas could come in handy in a ton of scenarios. For example, I go to Honolulu a lot. If you guys follow me on social media, you probably see pictures out there just for work. And one thing, if you guys, I'm sure this applies to other cities as well. I just don't go to a lot of cities frequently. But in Honolulu, having something like this, you would absolutely 100% be able to get around in the Honolulu traffic, the way the roads are there, easier than you would in a car. And I would imagine and faster. And I would imagine in a lot of other cities where many of you watching this probably live, you absolutely could get around faster as well. So that is just a everyday practical advantage of these bikes. Additionally, you know, just having a substitute system, like I was talking about, a lot of you guys are preppers, so having the ability to have a gas car is good. But of course, if you know gas stations go out because electricity goes out, then having the ability to have electric bike that you could charge on solar panels is a pretty cool thing, right? If you're talking about prepping. Now, I have a bunch of solar panels. If you guys watch my reviews here on the channel, you guys have seen them in the past, but I wired up two 200-watt solar panels and was able to charge these without any sort of issue. I didn't fully charge it, so like from empty, so I can't give you a timeline on that. Like I already gave you the timeline with 120 watt outlets of how the charging goes for that, but you absolutely could, if you had good sun, I'm sure in a day charge this with solar panels. So that is a pretty cool capability as well. Additionally, this one has lights, brake lights, all the different reflectors, all those things that come standard on it for safety, and that 99% of you guys would want. But if you have been watching over in Ukraine, I posted a video about this several days ago on all my various social media, which I, shameless plug, recommend that you guys follow down here on your screen. But the Ukrainian military is using these for their states, not these, but electric vehicles for their stealth capability. I know US SOCOM has been using them as well to move in and out of areas without having that large engine sound, right? So like I was getting at earlier, is that America is in decline. So the scenarios where you might want a silent vehicle to move around will only become more and more likely, unfortunately, I would have to predict as we go forward. So obviously, like we talked about, you could just black out everything. You take all the reflectors off if you wanted to, and you wanted to be able to move silently, maybe get your suppressed 300 blackout bolt action gun and do some things, right? Do some things that you might need to do. So that capability is pretty cool as well. Last thing to talk about before we close it out, of course, is going to be cost and just reliability overall. These bikes have had zero problems. The one, let me take that back. I lied. One thing that did happen is on the back here, these little bolts that hold your fenders on, or maybe it was the front on one of them, I don't remember which, but they did come off. So just a recommendation is lock tight all the bolts, but that's kind of for anything that's going to be on a vibrating type of surface. But other than that, these bikes have been flawless. You can see we nicked this thing up, scuffed it up. We've been using it rough. We've been going through a lot of trails and a lot of beach riding as well, like we mentioned. The things have worked flawlessly. Absolutely zero issues at all to report. So in that regard, I cannot be mad at all. I should mention, full disclosure, Aventon did send this out for the review, but they don't get a first look or anything like that at the video. I say what I'm going to say, and that's all there is to it. So with that, I think one thing to point out before we close it out is that one thing I would like to do, because the only bikes that they've made have been the Adventures that I've tried. I want to get some of their one of their like smaller, more commuter-oriented bikes in as well, because I think all of the complaints that I heard from the smaller statured people who have used this, including elderly people who have used these bikes, is that like the weight and size was the issue. I think a lot of that would go away immediately, and it would just be a hit for everyone with some of their other models. So if you guys want to see that in the future, let me know down below in the comment section. We'll see what we can do about that. But that is going to be my review of the Adventure. Like I said, the Adventure 2.0 has a couple differences, but it upgrades, if you will. And other than that, it's a very similar product rather. The price point is different though. As of right now, when I'm filming this video, these bikes are $1,500. There will be a link down below in the video description. If you guys are looking to pick it up, see if I can get a code or something like that, we'll throw that down there. And then the Adventure 2 is another $500. So again, compared to competitive offerings in this space, it's very reasonably priced. Additionally, this particular model, this one right here, comes in a number of different colors, and the Adventure, the original one that you guys are seeing, not the Adventure 2 because it hasn't been out that long, is top 3, like when I was doing my research to make this video right now, top 3 e-bikes sold since e-bikes have been out. So tremendously popular model for all of the reasons that we kind of talked about here so far in the video. So I suppose with that, we'll close it out. Thank you all for watching. If you have questions, let me know down below in the video description. Additionally, you can let me know on my various social media pages. If you're new here, because I'd imagine we're probably going to get a lot of new folks in this video, and you like what you guys saw, definitely subscribe. If you've done that and you're not seeing 2 to 4 videos a week here on the channel, hit the notification bell. If you've done that, just double check, because a lot of people get unsubscribed on this channel. But if you've done that and you're not seeing those 2 to 4 videos a week, sign up for the email at the website here on your screen. This email goes out once a month. and it has all of the videos since my previous month's email, so that way there's no big tech giant censoring your eyes from my content through an algorithm or Lord knows what else. And then additionally, if sales on any of the things that we typically talk about here on the channel, to include e-bikes now at this point, go happen, it will go out my daily deals email. The daily deals email has 6 to 8 of the best deals that we find around the internet. Ammo, guns, accessories, lights, e-bikes, whatever the case may be. If it is in that email, it's the best price on the internet that I know of anywhere across the internet. So I've already done the price comparisons for you, which saves you guys some time and hopefully saves you some money as well. So definitely recommend signing up for that email. And with that, we'll close it out. Thanks for watching. I truly appreciate it. I look forward to seeing everybody in the next video.